The 119th Congress, first session. Now, this one, again, this is the one that was actually, it's for the Dalles, but because it's supposed to be annexing 150 acres of the Mount Hood National Forest, that makes it a federal bill. So this is actually federal, but for a tiny-ass town that keeps losing population every year, called the Dalles in the Gorge of Oregon. So don't let them have outsized impact, is what I'm trying to say. So House Resolution 655 in the Senate of the United States, December 10th, 2025, received and read twice and referred to the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources. Actually, I think Jeff Merkley is one of the guys who leads that committee on the national level. So yeah, here in Oregon, we might actually have a little bit of an outsized impact on this own bill, which actually we should, because it's also the Dalles who started this shit. So it's kind of, I feel like it falls on us and our responsibility as our own people here to be like, nah, fuck this, and get the hold of both Wyden and Merkley's offices and just tell them, it's like, fuck this, and say no. This is dumb. An act to direct the Secretary of Agriculture to convey certain federal land, that's parts of the Mount Hood National Forest, to the city of the Dalles. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. Section 1, short title. This act may be cited as the Dalles Watershed Development Act. Definitions. In this act, city. The term city means the city of Dalles, Oregon. Secretary. The term secretary means the Secretary of Agriculture, acting as through the Chief of the Forest Service. Section 3, the Dalles conveyance. In general, if not later than 1 year after the enactment of this act, the city submits a written request, hello fire department, to the Secretary for conveyance of the land described in subsection B1. The Secretary shall, as soon as practicable thereafter, convey to the city all rights, titles, and interest of the United States in and to that section of the Mount Hood National Forest. Description of land. In general, the land is described in this paragraph is the parcel of real tangible property, generally depicted as Parcel A on the map, consisting of approximately 150 acres of the National Forest System, located in Mount Hood National Forest. 2. Map. Definition. In this section, the term map, well, we don't need to read that, that's obvious. Minor errors. The Secretary may correct minor errors to the map. Yeah, are they even competent enough to do that?
Yeah.
Do they know enough cartography skills to actually be trusted with that? Probably not. Availability of the map. A copy of the map shall be on file and available for public inspection in the appropriate offices of the Forest Service. Okay, so usually with the National Forest Service, you have to actually go to a physical office in person. And therefore, if it's the Mount Hood National Forest, you have to go to one of their offices in the Mount Hood National Forest. So you'd actually, if you want a copy of the map, typically, that means you have to drive all the way there to get one. That's not okay, if that's the case. Hopefully, they've done something a little different than normal, and they actually made it publicly available on the Congress website. That would be great. Because obviously they have it, so we should have it too electronically. Survey. The exact acreage and legal description of the National Forest System land to be conveyed under subsection A shall be determined by a survey satisfactory to the Secretary. Subsection C. Terms and conditions. The conveyance under subsection A shall be 1. Subject to valid existing rights. 2. Made without consideration. 3. Made by quitclaim deed. I've never heard of that in my life, by the way, until now. And 4. Subject to such additional terms and conditions as the Secretary determines to be appropriate to protect the interests of the United States. I said, fuck you. Subsection D. Administrative costs. The condition of the conveyance under subsection A, the city shall pay all costs associated with the conveyance, including the cost of a survey under subsection B3. Subsection E. Use of conveyed lands. 1. In general, The land conveyed to the city under subsection A shall be used by the city for public purposes, including municipal water supply and use related to infrastructure needs or expansions, quote unquote. And again, remember this, because this is where the lie comes in, to get you to vote for it and fall for it, because they're losing and hemorrhaging population every fucking year. The Dalles does. So they're saying it's for needed to infrastructure and water supply expansions as needed. And in other words, they're saying, oh, we need this so we can build a reservoir, basically, so we can tap water. Because we have a growing population, which is actually shrinking rapidly. Reversion. If the land conveyed under subsection A is used in a manner that is inconsistent with the requirement of paragraph 1, all right, title, and interest in and to the land shall be reverted to the United States, aka they get to determine how they're going to do that.
Exactly.
So, here is the thing. Because this is the official legal text currently, and it hasn't changed since December, you'd hope that they don't try to sneak in changes later.
Oh, that
they're hiding.
They will.
Like right around the time of vote. So that they can get their way. They probably will, because it's typical.
Absolutely.
But the reason why I'm pointing this specific piece out, which is subsection E, which is the use of the land, is because this is the lie used for advertising to get you to be gullible enough to vote for it. Because also this is great to credit, because without this person sharing this, I wouldn't have known about this. So she says, today's Oregon's 167th birthday. I am a flower farmer in the Hood River Valley, and I need to tell you about what's happening to Mount Hood right now. There's a bill in the Senate, House Resolution 655, that would give away 150 acres of Mount Hood's National Forest to the Dalles. The reason, quote-unquote, population growth. The reality is the Dalles have lost over 300 people / 2021. So why triple their water reservoir? Google's water use in the Dalles. There you go, right? Data center. 2012, 12% of the city's water. So they already built one of the state's first data centers in 2012.
Wow.
There. 2012, 12% of the city's water for one data center. 2024, 33% of the city's water. That was 2 years ago. And it tripled, therefore, in just 5 years. From 124 million gallons to 355 million gallons.
Wow.
Per year for data centers. And they're building data centers 5 and 6 right now in the Dalles. So the city's water plan projects 1 million gallons a day for large industrial user. So this is from the official city documents in their plans. 1 million gallons a day for a large industrial user. They don't specify who it is. It's obviously Google. But the mayor says Google is not really a factor in this at all. But obviously, the data says otherwise. When the Oregonian, that's the big newspaper here, asked for Google's water usage data, the Dalles sued the Oregonian outright immediately to try to keep it under lock and secret. Google paid over $100,000 in the city's legal fees.
Wow.
It took 13 months for a district attorney ruling to force the truth out. 13 months, so just over a year. Why hide it if there's nothing to hide? Dog River, where the Dalles draws its water from, flows down Mount Hood into the East Fork Hood River. Same mountain, same watershed, same water that irrigates the flowers on her farm, supports the Valley's farms themselves, which of course fucking grow our food, and your livestock's your favorite meat's food. Sustained salmon runs we've spent decades restoring, and they're doing a bad job of it because they won't remove the fucking dams on the Columbia. Different story. This flows into the Columbia River. When they pull water for data centers, that's water that doesn't reach anyone. 70 to 80% of the water just evaporates. It's gone from our water system. That's, of course, correct. Because the rest comes back warm, 4 to 6 degrees warmer. It's the same thing that dams do, and also same thing that fucking nuclear plants do to water when they return it. It's 4 to 6 degrees warmer. And it's, of course, loaded with chemicals. It's biocides like chlorine and bromide. or bromine, sorry, corrosion inhibitors, phosphates, and of course heavy metals. Warm waters kills our salmon and our native fish species. We're in a multi-year drought. Our glaciers are receding, and yet we're evaporating millions of gallons of water just to cool servers for AI. I'm adding the AI part, obviously, because obviously that's what data centers are for. They're strictly for AI. So, artificial intelligence. All the more reason to say fuck it. No public comment period. No consultation with downstream farmers. No tribal consultation. Columbia River Treaty rights, although they violated that so many different times over, it's ridiculous. No water quality standards, and no limits on the amount of water they can withdraw. 150 acres of public land transferred to a private corporation with zero oversight. That's the precedent it sets. And again, because it's public land, right? It belongs to every one of us that live here. And if Congress can just transfer the public land to cities for corporate water use with zero review, this blueprint can be used anywhere. Virginia, massive data center growth, Texas, Arizona, anywhere big tech needs and wants water. 259,000 square miles is the Columbia River Basin, the watershed. Yeah. 259,000 square miles. Just for perspective, the United Kingdom is, I think, 98,000 square miles, all totaled, with including all their overseas territories, like Bermuda and the South Sandwich Islands and South Georgia and all these other places. Just alone, the state of Oregon is literally in land area. It's like, just for perspective. Now, this is 259,000 square miles. That's a pretty big percentage of the Earth in general, let alone the continent. 7 states plus British Columbia, tribal treaty fishing rights. Salmon runs that define the entire Pacific Northwest, or I would say Cascadia. Agricultural backbone of the region, billions in tourism and fishing economy. And obviously all the tributaries in that watershed are all connected. The Dog River, the Hood River, the Columbia River. The Deschutes, the John Day, the Sneck, the Walla Walla, the Willamette, the Tualatin, the Clackamas, the Calapooya, the Santiam, the Mackenzie, the Cowlitz, the Kalama, the Klickitat, the just like endless rivers. The Fraser is just barely outside of the Columbia River watershed because they actually share the same fucking ridge for source, by the way. They start at the same point. It's incredible. So the choice you're making is basically path 1. You have intact forests, you have healthy watersheds, clean water, thriving salmon, regenerative farms, resilient communities. Or path 2, you transfer the public land, extract the water for corporations, evaporate 80% of that for the cooling of these AI data centers and servers, discharge the warm chemicals that they do discharge of the 20% remaining that they put back into the water system, degrade the ecosystems as a result, and kill off your native species, and stress farms. Which future would you like to have? So the best thing you can do is obviously call your fucking senators. Even if it feels useless, and it kind of does, fucking harass them. I'm not saying being a dick about it, but be emphatic and keep fucking filling their emails up and calling them and saying, you need to vote no on this. We have no support for this. This is bullshit. Because if this gains any kind of traction and ground, it sets a nationwide precedent where it can happen universally, anywhere, anytime. They can just buy up the ability to just have bypass voters, bypass everyone else, bypass legislators, and just fucking handed the keys to fucking acquire as much land, any land that they want, whenever they want.
Exactly.
Just to keep building more data centers, or whatever the fuck else they decide to build. Exactly. And obviously the whole idea is you need to say that you oppose the House Resolution 66 or 655 and add on whatever other important aspects you want to add to it.
Exactly.
Like in her case, as you can see, she says downstream communities and tribes must be consulted. Public lands belong to the public. But you can add even more to that if you want to. You can change that. It doesn't matter. As long as it's very emphatic like that, that's what fucking
I would matters. Tell them flat out, look,
fuck yourself.
Not only harass them, but let them know, hey, look, if you guys don't get rid of this, we're voting you out next December. Yeah. Actually, next November or whatever. So, yeah. Because this is insidious.
And obviously we have the bill text here. I'm going to link that.
Yeah.
The background that she got and her sources, as you can see on the screen, was the Oregonians' investigation, the OPB's recent coverage. And so, that's credible, obviously. Yeah, so it's not hyperbolic, it's not exaggerated, it's very legitimate and real. And so, this is why this is so fucking important to call, email, and just be relentless to your senators and emphasis, and just make sure that they just don't get a break until they finally commit to saying no and rejecting it. Because this is fucking ridiculous.